What's up YouTube, welcome back to another Genshin video. Today I'm going to be doing a Diluc guide for you guys today, and I'm going to put the comment up on screen of the person that requested it. All thanks to you, I'm doing a Diluc guide right now. So if you also wanted a Diluc guide, then you can take this person. At the launch of Genshin Impact, Diluc was the best DPS in the game, and although more characters have come out now to where he's not the best DPS in the game, he is still a good and reliable DPS option if you do have him. And I do see a little bit of a cult following for Diluc in some areas of the internet. Some people do like him. But yeah, I'm gonna go over his best weapons, teams, artifacts, and yeah, let's get right onto the video. For those who don't know, Diluc is a Pyro Claymore user, and requires Everflame Seeds from the Pyro Regis Vine, Small Lamp Grass, and Lieutenant's Insignias to level him up. Now let's just quickly go over his talents because his talents are pretty simple and not really too complicated. So we have his normal attack, which is just 4 consecutive strikes, and then his charge attack is similar to Beto's. Pretty normal Claymore attacks. But his elemental skill Searing Onslaught is actually pretty interesting because his elemental skill can actually be popped 3 times in a row. It performs a forward slash that will actually do power damage, and the skill can be used 3 times and enters a short cooldown if not cast again for a short period. So you can just do 1, 2, 3 with the elemental skill and do a lot of power damage. But actually, if you do want to do it faster, you can do elemental skill, normal attack, elemental skill, normal attack, elemental skill. It actually decreases the downtime animations throughout the elemental skill and lets you output damage faster. And here's the scaling on the elemental skill if you want to know. I currently have it at level 9. So at level 9 you have 160%, 166, and then 219. And if you don't hit it again within a short period of time, you'll enter a 10-second cooldown. His elemental burst is called Dawn. It actually releases a giant phoenix. It'll actually fly forward and do a whole bunch of power damage in its path, and the phoenix explodes upon reaching its destination, which will do AoE power damage. After using his elemental burst, Diluc's weapon will be infused with pyro. The phoenix actually has a large hitbox. It can hit enemies above it too, so if you use him with Venti and Diluc at the same time, you can still hit enemies within Venti's ult with Diluc's burst, so it's actually pretty useful in that regard. The only downside with this burst is that it knocks enemies all the way back, and then you have to run after them in order to hit them again, which is why sometimes it's good to pair him up with Venti. And then that power of fusion would just be great for him because it just allows him to do much more damage overall. And once again, here's the scaling for the level 9 skill. It'd do a slashing damage of 347, and then the damage over time would do 102%. The explosion damage after the phoenix reaches its destination will do 347%, and has a cooldown of 12 seconds. You'll be infused with pyro for 8 seconds, and it has a low energy cost of 40. So you can honestly spam this ability so many times, especially if you have another power character on your team. Now let's take a look at his passives. His first passive kinda sucks because you're not gonna really charge attack with Diluc at all, but it decreases the stamina cost of his charge attacks and increases its duration by 3 seconds. But so this one's basically useless. Now second passive is really good, is during the power of fusion after using your elemental burst, it will last 4 seconds longer and Diluc will gain a 20% power damage bonus throughout the infusion. Of course this is self-explanatory. After you use your burst, you'll just be infused with pyro for longer and do a lot more damage, so this one's amazing. And then his last passive is just refunds 50% of the ore used when crafting claymore type weapons, which is actually really useful if you're crafting a lot of claymores. Yeah, and that's all for the talents. His talents are overall pretty simple and really good. Now let's take a look at Diluc's Constellations. Diluc's Constellations are pretty good, but of course you do not need them. You can be a very good power DPS without all these Constellations, but these do make him better. His Constellation 1 increases damage dealt to opponents above 50% HP, so it's a pretty good Constellation overall, just more damage to higher health enemies. His Constellation 2 is actually pretty good as well. When Diluc takes damage, his attack is increased by 10%, and his attack speed is increased by 5%, which lasts for 10 seconds. Which can actually stack up to 3 times. So if you get hit 3 times, you can have a total attack boost of 30% and a total attack speed boost of 15%. So this is a pretty good constellation, just the only downside is that you have to try to purposely take damage, unless you're just getting hit anyway. But yeah, this constellation is pretty alright. Constellation 3 increases the level of his elemental skill. Now Constellation 4 for Diluc might just be the best constellation for him, but casting his elemental skill in rhythm greatly increases the damage. If you pop the next part of Searing Onslaught 2 seconds after casting it, the next one in the combo will deal 40% more damage. Luckily, this still works with the elemental skill normal attack combo. So if you do have this constellation, it won't change your playstyle all that much, but you're just getting more and more damage after each elemental skill cast. So this is probably going to be his best constellation. Constellation 5 increases the level of his elemental burst, and his Constellation 6 is well, after popping his elemental skill, the next two normal attacks within the next 6 seconds will have the damage and attack speed increased by 30%. Also, seeing Onslaught would not interrupt the normal attack combo. So after you pop your elemental skill, if you do some normal attacks, they'll gain increased damage overall. So yeah, great constellation. And there we go, that's pretty much it. Remember, you don't need any of these constellations to be a reliable power damage dealer. All of these are good upgrades, but not needed. You can beat the game without them. So don't worry about it too much if you don't have them. Now let's take a look at Diluc's weapon. Let's start off with the 3 stars. If you really don't have anything to use on Diluc, then you could definitely use the Debate Club. Debate Club has a really good passive and has attack percentage as a substat. I'ma quickly move on to the 4 stars because basically the Prototype Archaic is the 4-star version of the Debate Club. So if you're already using the Debate Club and then get Prototype Archaic by forging it, then you're basically just getting a free upgrade, just more damage, more attack percentage, and a better passive. And Prototype Archaic is one of the best free-to-play weapons for your Diluc, because you can actually forge it for free at the blacksmith, and its passive and substat are also really well, so this works really good on Diluc. This is what most people want on their Dilucs if they are free-to-play. Now another free-to-play option I'll tell you not to use is a Stone Tube Storm Silver, because its substat is physical damage bonus, and when you're building a Diluc, you're going to be maxing out that power damage because of that power infusion and your elemental skills and burst. So do not use weapons with physical damage bonus substats. You could also use the newly introduced Luxurious Sea Lord for your Diluc to increase his elemental burst damage by a lot, and have little extra hits when you use his elemental burst. So if you want to max out the elemental burst, you can go ahead and do this. But if you do want good all-around damage, I'd probably recommend the Prototype Archaic over the Luxurious Sea Lord. I also want to talk about this 4-star weapon right here. This Claymore, I honestly thought it wasn't going to be that good, but it turns out it can rival weapons like the Wolf's Gravestone with the right party. So if you do have this, once again your elemental burst damage will go crazy, but your other attacks will go a little less crazy. But if you want to max out his elemental burst and just do like big numbers all at once, this could be a good weapon. And then we actually have the Serpent Spine, which is probably the best 4-star claymore in the game for your Diluc, but it is unfortunately locked behind a paywall of getting the battle pass. It has a crit rate substat, which actually makes it really good, and its passive is really good for main DPS Dilucs, since you will be staying on the field for longer. Basically every 4 seconds you'll get a damage boost longer you're on your field, and it will be reduced by 1 stack each time the character takes damage. So this one's a really good option, but unfortunately it's locked behind a paywall. I would put this weapon above Prototype Archaic and Luxurious Sea Lord, and then maybe put that new Claymore and right beside each other with this one. I'm not really sure. I haven't seen anyone test out Diluc with the new Claymore, but Serpent Spine is definitely one of the top picks for 4-star weapons for Diluc. And then we go down to the weapons. All the 5-star weapons are really good for Diluc besides the Song of Book and Pines. I say the Song of Book and Pines because it does have a physical damage bonus substat, which once again, you do not want to build on your Diluc since you will be infusing yourself with Pyro, and your elemental skill does massive power damage. So do not go for Song of Book and Pines. But the overall best weapon for your Diluc for 5 stars is going to be the Wolf's Gravestone. It just gives so much attack percentage, and it boosts Diluc's damage by a whole lot. The Unforged would probably be second if you do want it with a shield character, maybe like Zhongli. And then the third best would be Scoured Pride, because it also does pretty good damage. But if you want 5-star order, I'd say Wolf's Gravestone, Unforged, and then Scoured Pride. The only sad thing is that unfortunately, none of the 5-star claymores in the entire game have any crit damage or crit rate substats. So if you do want to use these weapons, you're all gonna have to have a good ratio, but overall, the best 5-star of choice would be Wolf's Gravestone for your Diluc. So yeah, those are his weapons. The best 4-star weapons are gonna be Serpent Spine, Prototype Archaic, and then the new Claymore and Luxurious Sea Lord I'm not really sure about. Probably put them in a gray area, but if you want to be safe, I recommend putting the Prototype Archaic and the Serpent Spine. And then the best 5-star weapon for your Diluc is obviously gonna be Wolf's Gravestone, and then it's gonna be followed by the Unforged, and then Scoured Pride. And yeah, that's all for the weapons. Now let's take a look at Diluc's artifacts, It's pretty simple because he's gonna be built like most of your damage dealers already are. But the thing is about Diluc, he basically is gonna run Crimson Witch of the Flames all the time. Like this artifact set was pretty much specifically made for Diluc because you can increase your power damage bonus by 3 stacks, which is exactly the same number of its elemental skill. So it's pretty much obvious that you have to run 4-piece Crimson Witch. It will increase the overload and burning damage and increase vaporize and melt damage. So this is actually a really crazy set. If you are going to go for any set at all, go for 4-piece Crimson Witch of the Flames. But if you're not good enough to get a 4-piece Crimson Witch with good substats, you can always go with 2-piece Shimenawas or Gladiators with 2-piece Crimson Witch of the Flames to get that power damage bonus and attack percentage. And yeah, and other than that, there's not really much wiggle room for the artifact sets of Diluc. So those are the main ones you want to go for. And for your main stats on your artifacts, for Diluc's timepiece, you want attack percentage because it just increases the damage by a whole lot. You don't really need energy recharge because Diluc's burst is super low cost. You don't want elemental mastery unless you're specifically speccing out for a huge elemental mastery build. There are some good times where elemental mastery builds do really well, but it is a little harder because you have to get a lot of elemental mastery. So if you want to play it safe and for a general playstyle with any team you want, I'd say go for attack percentage Sands. And then obviously for his goblet, you want power damage bonus, cause he just has a whole bunch of power damage all over his kit. And then his circlet can be crit rate or crit damage depending on your ratio. Remember, you want to try to get a 1-to-2 ratio on your crit damage and crit rate. Which for example means if you have 50% crit rate, you want to have 100% crit damage. And then for standard DPS artifact substats, you want to go crit rate, crit damage, attack percentage, and then elemental mastery lastly, because elemental mastery could be pretty good if you run them with right teams. So yeah, that's basically all for the artifacts. Just to recap, for the artifact sets, you want either 4-piece Crimson Witch of the Flames, or 2-piece Gladiators or Shimenawas with 2-piece Crimson Witch of the Flames. And then for the main stats, on your Sands, you want attack percentage, on your Goblet, power damage bonus, and on your Circlet, crit rate or crit damage. And then for the substats, you want crit rate, crit damage, and then followed by attack percentage, and then lastly, elemental mastery. And that's all for the artifacts. Now for the best teams for Diluc, the absolute best combo with Diluc is gonna be Xingqiu. Xingqiu and Diluc are an amazing combo for Diluc to pop a lot of vaporize, double his damage, and just go absolutely ballistic. This is why sometimes it is nice to run an elemental mastery build if you do pair him up with Xingqiu, but for general play, I do advise just running a regular build. So 9 times out of 10 you're gonna want Diluc and Xingqiu together. And then his other teammates, it doesn't really matter all too much, but if you do run them with like someone with Zhang Ling, if Zhang Ling, Xingqiu, and Diluc do massive damage, and Zhang Ling's able to do offer damage off field to allow your Diluc to maximize his main damage potential. You could also run him with someone like the Leona to shield him up and actually heal him. This is actually one of the main teams I won with Diluc, and it's a really good team to pop a lot of vaporize, do a lot of pyro, and yeah. But also with the previous team I was already on, this is also a really good team because Diluc and Beidou are also really good pairs, because Beidou can once again do all of her burst damage off field and allow your Diluc to do a whole bunch of power damage on field. And then Beidou's electricity can chain between a whole bunch of enemies, which is always amazing. And then Bennett is Bennett. It's actually amazing how good he is. It will boost your damage of your whole entire team by so much. And since he's also Pyro, it'll proc off the elemental resonance for your Diluc and let your Diluc spam his burst even more often than he already is going to be. So for the teams in conclusion, you can run a lot of teams. Like I'm just gonna speed through some teams you can run real quick. You can run the Diluc, Fish, or Beidou Bennett build, which I personally do like running sometimes. You may have even seen me running this team in one of my Spiral Abyss videos. You could also run this team because Mona does big deeps when paired with someone that has Pyro, and of course Diluc is Pyro, and Mona is just an amazing support. And like I said earlier, Diluc's elemental burst can actually hit the enemies stuck inside Venti's black hole. So it's actually a really good pair up to keep him in place after using his burst so you don't have to go around chasing people after you use it. And yeah, I think you guys pretty much get the gist of it. If you run Diluc and Xingqiu, they are the best combo for your Diluc team. And then you can run many other characters that do off-field support to boost your Diluc's damage even more. And you can also have Bennett or a shielder like Zhongli or Diona for some heals. And yeah, that's basically all for the teams. Pretty easy and simple, and there's a lot of teams you can do this with. Alright, now it's just time to do a little bit of a showcase. But before we do that, let me show you guys my stats. I have 2,383 attack. My crit rate is 49.9. My crit damage is 182.9. Have an energy recharge of 129.8. And then my power damage bonus is at 61.6. Of course, we're gonna do it on a very definitely willing guest to acquire just fine. I'm gonna do a damage test without any buffs from any characters, and then I'm gonna do a damage test with buffs from every single character in my party. Then we're gonna go Bop, Elemental Burst, boom, 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 and then we start doing slow damage, got 10k there, 9k, 9.6k, 10k. So you can see he does a pretty good damage. Okay, this time I'm gonna do it again, but I'm gonna have Jincho's stuff proc. And you'll see how much Diluc's damage gets boosted by just from Jinchu alone. So I'm gonna pop his thing. Gonna proc Hydro on this dude, and then boink, he hit for 12,000 and then tons of other damage numbers as he went through the thing. And look at that damage. I don't wanna kill him! Oh! I did not mean to kill him. Hopefully now you know how to build your Diluc, what teams put on him, what weapons and artifacts to build on him. He's pretty simple, it's pretty fun. Of course, once again, he's not the best DPS like he used to be, but he is still really reliable in doing that big power damage bonus output, and can easily carry you through Spiral Abyss. Well, that's basically all. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye bye.